What if everything you've been taught about strength is a lie? What if the exhaustion you feel right now isn't because you're weak, it's because you're carrying someone else's weight? What if the people draining you aren't evil, they're just unconscious, and you're spending your energy trying to wake someone up who doesn't want to wake up? What if the biggest mistake you can make isn't saying no, it's saying yes to one more person, one more situation, one more relationship that doesn't deserve your life force? What if real power isn't holding on? What if real power is knowing exactly what to let go of, and then actually doing it? What if the moment you stop needing everyone to understand you, everyone starts respecting you? What if your peace is more important than their comfort? And what if the moment you believe that, your entire life changes? In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to detach from everything that's draining you without guilt, without explanation, and without losing your humanity. Because you deserve a life that energizes you, not a life that exhausts you. Stay with me. The invisible chains of attachment. What if the very things you're holding on to are the same things holding you hostage? Every day you're building invisible chains, chains made of expectations, memories, and what other people think of you. You don't see them at first. They feel normal. They feel like responsibility, like loyalty, like love. But somewhere deep down, you know something is wrong. Your energy is disappearing. Your joy is fading. Your peace is becoming a luxury you can't afford. The truth that nobody wants to hear is this: attachment is not love. Attachment is fear wearing love's costume. When you're attached to someone, you're not really connected to them. You're connected to your version of them, the version living in your mind. You're holding on to the idea of who they should be, what they should do, how they should treat you. And every single day, reality doesn't match your expectation, and you feel the sting of disappointment. The same happens with your past. You're carrying memories like they're precious diamonds, but they're actually anchors dragging you deeper. What happened to you is real, but the meaning you've given it, that's the chain. The story you tell yourself about that painful event, that's what's draining you. Most people spend their entire lives replaying moments that can never be changed, slowly poisoning themselves with the past. Your job, your status, your possessions. You've attached your identity to these things so deeply that when they're threatened, you feel like you're dying. And in a way, you are. You're dying every moment you're not living as your authentic self. You're performing a character in a movie only you can see, and the director keeps changing the script, but you never get the updated version. That's why you're exhausted. That's why nothing feels right anymore. The chains aren't outside you, they're inside your mind, and only you have the key to unlock them. The energy vampire trap you don't even realize you're in. What if I told you that you've been trained, literally conditioned from childhood, to give your energy to people and situations that don't deserve it? It sounds dramatic, but look at your life. How many people are you trying to fix? How many relationships are you holding together by yourself? How many conversations are leaving you feeling empty? Energy vampires aren't scary beings that suck your blood at night. They're the relationships, commitments, and situations that constantly pull from your well without ever adding back. And here's the cruel part. The vampire doesn't know they're a vampire. Your best friend who calls you to vent for 2 hours every week, not malicious. Your family member who criticizes everything you do, probably just insecure. Your job that demands 60 hours a week for mediocre pay, just trying to survive. But awareness changes everything. The trap is that you've been taught guilt. You've been taught that saying no makes you selfish. You've been taught that your exhaustion is noble, that suffering for others is a mark of character. So you keep giving and giving and giving until there's nothing left. You start to wonder if you're depressed, if something is wrong with you, if you're broken. But you're not broken. You're just empty. You've been poured out. When you let go of something, a relationship, a belief, a version of yourself that no longer serves you, You're not losing strength, you're redirecting your power. Instead of using all your strength to hold something that's already dead, you can use that same strength to build something that's alive. Instead of spending your emotional energy on people who don't respect you, you can spend that energy on people who honor you. The people you think are weak are often the ones with the most power. They're the ones who walked away from toxic situations everyone else accepted. They're the ones who ended friendships people said were impossible to end. They're the ones who changed careers, left cities, reinvented themselves completely. Why? Because they had the strength to let go of who they were to become who they needed to be. Real power is understanding the difference between what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Real strength is saying no and meaning it. Real courage is choosing yourself, even when everyone around you is choosing themselves at your expense. The weak ones are the ones clinging desperately to everything, afraid to lose anything, trapped by their own fear of change. They think holding on is loyalty. They think staying is love. But it's not. It's paralysis dressed up as commitment. The mirror principle. You become what you attach to. What if the people draining you are actually mirrors showing you exactly what you need to change about yourself? This is the principle that most people miss, and it's the key to everything. You don't just become like the people you spend time with, you literally absorb their energy, their vibration, their consciousness. It's not metaphorical, it's biological, it's energetic, it's real. When you spend hours with someone who's negative, who complains about life, who blames everyone else for their problems, you don't leave that conversation unchanged. You leave it feeling heavier. Why? Because you've absorbed their frequency. You've taken on their emotional baggage. You're now carrying their weight. And if you spend enough time with them, you don't just carry it temporarily, you integrate it. It becomes part of your baseline frequency. This is why detaching is not about being cold or heartless. It's about survival. It's about self-preservation. Because if you don't detach, you don't just feel their pain, you become their pain. You don't just see their limitations, you take on their limitations as your own. A person afraid of success will unconsciously sabotage your success. A person who believes they're a victim will keep you playing the victim too. Not because they're evil, but because misery actually does love company. Why letting go is not weakness, it's power. What if everything you've been taught about strength is completely backwards? You've been told that strength is holding on, that strength is fighting harder, pushing through, never giving up. But what if the ultimate strength is knowing exactly what to let go of? What if the warrior's greatest power is walking away from battles that don't serve their purpose? Most people have the strength equation completely inverted. They think that letting go means you're weak, that you couldn't handle it, that you're giving up. But look at nature. The tree that survives the hurricane is not the one that holds on to every single branch with desperate force. It's the tree that lets go of the branches that can't handle the wind. The river doesn't fight the rocks, it flows around them. The bamboo doesn't break in the storm, it bends. This isn't weakness, this is wisdom. This is strength at its highest form. Most people don't even realize they're in this trap because it looks like normal life. Going to work that doesn't fulfill you? Normal. Being in relationships that drain you? Normal. Spending time with people you don't actually enjoy? Normal. Carrying other people's emotions? Normal. But normal doesn't mean healthy. Normal is just what most people have settled for. And you can feel it, that vague sense that something is deeply wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on it. The people who are the biggest energy vampires are usually the ones you love the most. Because you care, you enable. Because you love, you sacrifice. Because you're loyal, you stay. And they slowly, without malice, drain the life force out of you until you're just a shadow of who you used to be. The worst part? Most of the time they don't even know. And even if they do, there's nothing they can do about it. Because the power isn't in them, it's in you. It's in your willingness to give what you don't have to spare. Most people don't even realize they're in this trap because it looks like normal life. Going to work that doesn't fulfill you? Normal. Being in relationships that drain you? Normal. Spending time with people you don't actually enjoy? Normal. Carrying other people's emotions? Normal. But normal doesn't mean healthy. Normal is just what most people have settled for. And you can feel it, that vague sense that something is deeply wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on it. The people who are the biggest energy vampires are usually the ones you love the most. Because you care, you enable. Because you love, you sacrifice. Because you're loyal, you stay. And they slowly, without malice, drain the life force out of you until you're just a shadow of who you used to be. The worst part? Most of the time they don't even know. And even if they do, there's nothing they can do about it. Because the power isn't in them, it's in you. It's in your willingness to give what you don't have to spare. Why letting go is not weakness, it's power. What if everything you've been taught about strength is completely backwards? You've been told that strength is holding on, that strength is fighting harder, pushing through, never giving up. But what if the ultimate strength is knowing exactly what to let go of? What if the warrior's greatest power is walking away from battles that don't serve their purpose? Most people have the strength equation completely inverted. They think that letting go means you're weak, that you couldn't handle it, that you're giving up. But look at nature. The tree that survives the hurricane is not the one that holds on to every single branch with desperate force. It's the tree that lets go of the branches that can't handle the wind. The river doesn't fight the rocks, it flows around them. The bamboo doesn't break in the storm, it bends. This isn't weakness, this is wisdom. This is strength at its highest form. Detaching from everything that drains you isn't selfish, it's self-respect. It's not running away, it's walking toward yourself. And the moment you make that choice, the moment you decide that your peace matters more than other people's comfort, everything changes. Your energy comes back, your joy returns, your life finally becomes yours again. The people who truly love you will understand. The people who don't understand were never really yours to keep anyway. What if suffering isn't something that happens to you? It's something you're choosing. This might sound harsh, but stay with me. The event itself isn't the problem. The meaning you've attached to the event is the problem. Between what happened to you and how you respond to it, there's a space. In that space is your power. In that space is your freedom. 1,000 people can experience the same event and have 1,000 different responses. One person loses their job and sees it as a failure that defines them. Another loses their job and sees it as an opportunity to find something better. Same event, different stories, different suffering. The difference isn't the event, it's the space. It's what they choose to believe about what happened. Finally, you have to understand that cutting a cord doesn't mean cutting contact. Sometimes it means staying in contact but with a different energy. It means being friendly but not friends. It means being civil but not involved. It means caring about someone's well-being from a distance instead of being consumed by their chaos up close. You're not cutting the person out. You're cutting the unhealthy attachment. And that's the whole difference. The speech ends not with answers, but with a choice. Every single person watching has people in their life who drain them. Every single person has situations that don't serve them. Every single person knows deep down that something needs to change. The only question is, are you brave enough to change it? But here's where it gets powerful. The reverse is also true. If you attach yourself to people who are growing, who are healing, who are vibrating at a higher frequency, you rise too. You don't have to figure everything out yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to be in the presence of people who are becoming better versions of themselves. And somehow, without even trying, you become better too. The mirror principle means you have to look at your life and ask yourself, Who am I becoming by being around these people? What version of myself am I creating by staying in these situations? If the answer makes you sad, then you already know what you need to do. You don't need permission. You don't need them to understand. You just need the courage to walk away, because staying is slowly transforming you into something you never wanted to be. The sacred space between you and your suffering. But what if you started practicing a different story? What if, in that sacred space between what happened and how you respond, you chose a story that empowered you instead of destroying you? This isn't toxic positivity. This isn't denying reality. It's recognizing that reality has already happened, and your only real choice is what you're going to do with it. The suffering comes from insisting that reality should be different from what it is. The freedom comes from accepting what is and choosing what's next. The Liberation Protocol: How to Cut Energy Cords Without Guilt. What if I told you that you can cut the energy cord with someone and still love them? That you can distance yourself from a situation and still wish the best for everyone involved? That you can protect your peace and still be a good person? Because all of this is possible, and nobody tells you that. The Liberation Protocol is simple, but it requires honesty you've probably never allowed yourself to have. First, you have to admit which people and situations are actually draining you. Not which ones should be draining you. Not which ones a good person should tolerate. Which ones actually are. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say their names. You have to feel the truth of it in your body. Second, you have to understand that their emotions are not your responsibility. If they get upset because you're setting a boundary, that's not your fault. That's their responsibility. You're not responsible for managing their feelings. You're not responsible for making them understand. You're not responsible for making the transition smooth for them. You're responsible for you. That's it. Just you. Most people never realize this space exists. They think the event causes the suffering directly, so they spend their energy trying to change the event, or undo the event, or forget about the event. But the event is already gone. It's already happened. No amount of energy in the world will change what already is. But the story you're telling about what happened, that you can change. That's in your control. You don't realize this, but you're practicing your suffering every single day. Every time you think about that person who hurt you, you're practicing the story of betrayal. Every time you worry about the future, you're practicing the story of not being good enough. Every time you remember an embarrassing moment, you're practicing the story of failure. And because you practice these stories so often, they become real. They become your default frequency. Third, you have to grieve. Because even if something is draining you, there was probably a time when it wasn't. There was probably a time when you loved these people, when you needed these situations. There was probably a time when it was healthy, and now it's not. That's a loss, and you have to feel that loss. You have to let yourself be sad about it. Because if you don't grieve, you'll carry the weight of it forever, and you'll keep trying to resurrect something that's already dead. Fourth, you have to protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. You have to be ruthless about who gets access to your time, your attention, your heart. You have to say no without explaining. You have to disappear without announcing it. You have to prioritize your peace even if it disappoints people. And then you have to be okay with disappointing people. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. Because trying to make everyone understand is just another way of staying trapped.